Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty at a Haggerty10 Twitter handle. You all know that. And I'm joined today by Sean Martin. I'll give him his Twitter
Forget
handle.
my name there, did you?
At Sean Martin TCW. Indeed, still basking in the afterglow. Sean, I've fixed the lights a wee bit better today. I think, but there you go. Yeah, he's still basking in the afterglow. Pete McGee, I think we all are. The old skin graft couldn't get the smile off your face type thing, Sean. Indeed. As I say, it's Tuesday, February 28th. Hope you're having a terrific Tuesday. We'll get to the League Cup final aftermath again in a second. But first and foremost, I urge you to subscribe to the Celtic Way and support top quality football journalism covering the club you love. And it'll cost you £2 for 2 months. All for a click of a button, guys. You know the score. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We thank everybody who's done that already. Love the community we've got here. Want to keep expanding it and building it. And we also say thank you to SENECA. And the Celtic Way Morning Briefing is now sponsored by SENECA Medical Group. And SENECA are the #1 hair transplant company in Europe, and they offer innovative hair restoration treatments. And you can find out more about SENECA via the links in the description of this video. Sean, the fallout continues.
Certainly does, yeah.
If you're a Celtic supporter, you're cock a hoop. If you're a Rangers supporter, life isn't so good at the time being, but hey, we can't concern ourselves with that. If you're a Celtic supporter, you are just happy. And something that would have delighted you last night even more was Ange Postecoglou, who spoke to the newspapers on Sunday. They took him aside after he'd spoken to the broadcast, and they printed, obviously, what they got from him. And I have to say, Sean, it's quite an excellent interview. He speaks about his future, and he speaks about his future. And you'd be very positive about that, being a Celtic supporter, and woke up and you've read stuff online, and you've been delighted by his comments.
Aye, I mean, just for anybody that's not read it, because it was in the written press over here, there'd been 10:30 last night. It came out. You might have seen it elsewhere, but certainly it was. Tony's right. It was written press that were talking to him after the game. He said roughly, this is what he said: when people say he's going to go down the road or somewhere else with the first offer he gets, it's not how I'm wired. It's not how I think. And then he went on to say, for me, what it's about is just trying to leave a mark wherever I am. I've done that with every football club I've been at. I want to do it at this football club, and that is all that consumes me. I don't think about the next step, or I need to go somewhere else, or I need to do this, or I need to consider other things. You don't go through life oblivious to it, by which he means the kind of reports like them elsewhere. He says it's not healthy to put the blinkers up and not know what's going on, because that tests your desire to keep doing what you're doing. If people are talking about my future or are interested in my future, I will sit there and listen, but it doesn't mean I'm going to jump at anything that comes my way. I'm really passionate about what I do, and the people close to me know what is most important to me, what drives me, and what keeps me sort of happy in my role. And he ends it by saying, I couldn't be happier, Tony.
Yeah, and I also like this one. He says, I'm going into my 3rd year, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing and not worry about what others see, because I tell you what, first thing that will be said, and it'll be one of you journals that will be the first to do it, I'm not ambitious enough because I'm not moving on. I think he covered every base there, Sean, did he not?
He did, aye.
In terms of his future, I think the subtext of that is he's here for as long as Celtic want him to be here, and he's happy to be here. And there was people using words like dynasty and all that, Sean, quoted stuff like that. But I think we get the gist that he enjoys it. And we've spoken about this before, because we spoke to Stevie Blair, his best mate, and we said the only person that will decide when he leaves is Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think the last wee bit of subtext there, although it probably wasn't subtext, it was just text, was careful what you print come summertime, I think is probably what it is. Yeah. But no, I think overall, and the comments are suggesting this as well, I think it'll be music to the ears of the Celtic support. Beyond him saying that he's just put his signature to a new contract, it's about as much as you could hope for, I think, Tony. I think I'm getting that sense from the comments that it's that it's a positive
I
thing.
think that's the verbal equivalent of, you know, a signed contract, but he just doesn't work like that, and he won't commit himself to, you know, long-term deals because he's just happy. He doesn't see the need to, and I mean, I think that's quite unequivocal, isn't it? And I agree with you completely, Sean. It's like, be careful what you link me with in the summer. I've just told you there, that kind of thing, you know.
Blind Asabat saying, love that, Tony, and it's so true.
And I have to say, I thought that interview and the stuff that the written media got out of him was quite superb, you know. So you have to say that, you know, they get a hard time, and I'm part of that written media as well, and we do this too. So I have to big up them and say that the excellent quotes that they got there, and yeah, you have to sort of applaud that, and well done, Ange, also for answering those questions immediately after, you know, the glory of winning the cup. He could have chosen to duck the issues and swerve it, but he didn't. So again, another reason why people just love this manager, isn't it, Sean? That he is, you know, when you talk about things that he's interested in, and he's clearly interested in his future and what he plans to do, then, you know, good on him for opening up about that. So, yeah, 1888 CFC saying not going anywhere soon. I think that's what I took unequivocally from that, Sean, because I think he said at one point, you'll be surprised at how long I'm here, didn't he? He said that.
Lanky 67's coming in, just firing straight through it. Tony saying, just give him a 5-year contract because he's starting to build a team for European competition. Derek's got a question for you, although it's also kind of a question for me. He says, does his comments reopen the debate about tying him into a long-term contract for security, as Sean says regularly?
What is it you say, Sean? Security is what?
Underrated, yep. Usually I'm using that for players.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true, I suppose, with Ange Postecoglou as well. But do you think it reopens that, or is it more just take them at face value, take those comments as what he said when he said it? Don't worry about it just now, that kind of thing?
I think you have to take him at face value. He's given no indication that he wants to go anywhere else, has he? And I think the security part is that Celtic don't want stung where he leaves for. You know, I think when Brendan Rodgers left, he got something like £9 million in compensation. It was one of the highest managerial payouts at the time, wasn't it, for a manager and the backroom staff? So I think, let's put it this way, I think if that was the case, I think Ange, being a man of his word, he'd probably sign a contract so that Celtic would get the due recompense, you know. So I think, yeah, well, I take him at his word on that, you know. So, and I think he would protect the best interests of Celtic Football Club, which he has from day one, and he said he would do that, and he's protected the players as well. He's fought for the players, he's fought for the supporters, and he said he would do that. So I don't think he would do anything that would be detrimental to Celtic Football Club, even if he was to leave at some point in the future, which he will. I assume.
Theoretically, I think the reality, I think we can get kind of caught up in the moment as well. The reality is that he has left clubs before, and that conceivably in inopportune times as well. Thinking midway through a season with Yokohama F Marinos to come here, obviously the biggest, the most recent one. He left Brisbane Roar a couple of days after the grand final win with 2 games left in the Champions League, although I think they were out at that point. He left Melbourne Victory after 3 games of a season for the Australia role. Of course, then left the Socceroos a week after qualifying for the World Cup, although that one was ultimately a point of principle and not another job. So my point is, I think we can get kind of caught up in almost the cult of personality with that. He is an ambitious man. He might very well do it to Celtic the way that he's done it to other places. Ultimately, that was kind of my point that Derek's kind of referring to, is not necessarily that Ange needs to be tied down for 10, 15 years, but that the structure behind him's got to be there so that whenever he goes, whatever the circumstances, no matter where it is he's going, that it continues in a similar vein. Because I think he's a great guy to have built your philosophy around. I think they've chosen, whether you think they've chosen or they've lucked into Ange Postecoglou, they've got an absolute belter there to build it around. So I think he's right. Sorry, I think he's right in terms of that quote earlier on, that it doesn't go through life oblivious to what else is going on. For now, Celtic is by far and away the biggest and most pressurised job he's had and arguably that he's ever likely to have. So he won't ignore that, I don't think, when his name is getting thrown around in reports with, frankly, what tends to be no-mark clubs with just a wee bit more money down south, put it that way. So I choose to see those comments as really quite positive ones, but I do think there sometimes needs to be a wee bit more of reality in terms of what has led Postecoglou here to begin with.
We've spoken about that before, and that kind of legacy, and we want it to continue, Sean, in a kind of Liverpool boot room, 70s, 80s style, that whoever comes in, it kind of runs itself. So and I think that's important to Ange as well, that he wants to build a legacy here, and also when he passes that baton on, that it does function, and it doesn't just be ripped asunder. They can't have that, and we've spoken about the importance of that. And I genuinely think, and I will take him at face value, and yeah, you can get caught up in the moment, but I accept that nothing lasts forever. And for Ange to stay, just say 5-6 years, he has to continue to be successful, doesn't he? So, and he knows that himself, and he's not oblivious to that. He's just a very astute and clever man, and knows what to do. And yeah, and I know he's left clubs and the international job at possibly inopportune times, but I don't know. And again, you're only going with what he says, but I think he genuinely loves it at Celtic, and this is what he's craved. It ticks every box for him. As you say, he said the other day, didn't he, before the cup final, that he wanted something where the fans were as passionate, as ambitious as him, and he's got that at Celtic. So he might well be here for the long haul, as people see it, but I just think you've got to live in the moment as well and enjoy the moment. He's here for how long he's here for. I mean, that's all you can.
As long as the club is not thinking that, to be honest. I mean, it's fine for fans to be living in the moment, as long as the club isn't thinking that. He's here as long as he's here, and we'll deal with it later. You need to deal with it while he's still there, is my point. Like Nasabat mentioning the thing that you mentioned there, that he said they want to be somewhere where football meant everything to the people and get a crack at Europe. That's Celtic. I agree, and that's kind of where I'm coming from when I'm saying that despite all of the kind of examples I gave, Celtic's by far and away the biggest and most pressurised he's had. And I genuinely think it's probably the one that he's the biggest and most pressurised he's ever likely to have, unless some turn of events ends up with him down at the likes of Liverpool or something like that.
Sure.
There's only, and I'm sorry, I'm going to put this up from Simon Thomas, which kind of encapsulates what I'm saying. Ange leaves clubs for a greater opportunity. Not many clubs are a greater opportunity than Celtic.
Yeah, and I've said before, and I'll say it again, that what's one of the biggest challenges in football right now, arguably the biggest challenge, turning Celtic into a force in Europe again. I think he genuinely wants to do that. He wants another crack at the Champions League, and also to see if Celtic can't progress in the Champions League, see where they can go in the Europa League. I believe that Ange thinks that Celtic can conceivably win a European trophy, and that trophy probably be the Europa League. Could be wrong in that assumption, but I think he wants Celtic to be a big name on the European stage again, and he wants to be the man to lead them there. And if you're consumed by that, as he says, then he won't stop until he does it. And I think that is one of football's greatest challenges. And he said he loves a challenge. Turn Celtic into a force on the European stage again. Dominating domestically, great. Celtic fans love it. But there is a bigger and wider picture here, and I think it always has been for him. The opportunity to come to a club like Celtic. What is Celtic renowned for? What's the most famous thing? And he referenced it a few times. He referenced it in the League Cup final speech the last time. You're standing on the shoulders of the guys that have achieved winning the greatest prize ever. Go and make your own history. Somebody asked him about Rangers getting to the Europa League. He said, there's a European trophy up the road that I can show you. He's always thinking, I want to take Celtic to that level. I want to be in there at that level. Call it ambitious, call it lofty, call it what you like, but it ain't going to stop him. He's determined to do it. And I think everything, all the boxes have been ticked for him in that sense. And I agree with you. Don't just let it ride out, and you have to deal with it. If this is the extent of Ange Postecoglou's ambitions, you have to back that. You have to say, okay, we trust you, because there's nothing that he has done so far that leads you to think that he can't do it.
No, I agree, and this is where this is where, again, I'm not going to repeat myself again about this. This is probably the most pressurised and biggest job he's ever going to get. But it is, and there's plenty of comments saying it. It's the Europe factor for Celtic. What you're alluding to there is not whether it's winning a trophy, whether it's competing, whether it's getting to the latter stages of the Champions League. He's said it before, and there's a great comment here from Andrew Galea saying Ange gave an example of Club Brugge. It takes consecutive efforts. You don't say an example at Club Brugge in consecutive efforts if your mind's thinking, well, I'll probably not be here for the third effort, that kind of thing. So yeah, take all that on board. And I think when Derek's question that kind of prompted all this, when he was saying about the security thing, I remember writing end of last season about his 1 year rolling contract. It was basically after the Dermot Desmond thing. I've said this before on here as well. But Dermot Desmond saying like the manager's the chairman of the board when it comes to the football matters and all that kind of stuff. And I was saying, well, that sounds as if he's almost like an NBA style head coach and general manager rolled into one, that kind of stuff. And if you're going to do it that way, where he's going to have so much say, then I think the club's got to be proactive in ensuring that it's not just a 1 year rolling contract, that he's there at Parkhead for the longer term. And that might be on a 1 year rolling contract, but doing things like you said, like meeting certain ambitions that he's wanting window by window and season by season, because then ultimately it doesn't matter if it's a rolling deal because he's happy. That's the situation the club finds themselves in at the moment. So this is why I hope that they're not thinking, no, this is just it. I think they should be continuing the structure behind the scenes. That's always the worry with it.
There's a wonderful clip from years ago of Jock Stein saying when he came back, he was assured he would get total control of the football side, and he got total control. He says it. He said something like, "I wasn't going to come back if total control didn't mean total control." And he said he got that, and he was happy. And then I think the same interview says, which led him to say, "I like working here because I like the people that are here," you know. And I think that's kind of similar to, you substitute. I think Martin O'Neill was afforded that, and I think Brendan Rodgers was afforded that, and I now think Ange Postecoglou has been afforded that total control on the football side. And when you're working in tandem with people because he references Michael Nicholson in the backroom team a lot, and saying that they've helped me, they've assisted me, they've given me everything I've wanted so far. I think that I think everybody implicitly trusts this manager to take total control of the football side, because as I say, he's rarely put a foot wrong on the football side since he came in, hasn't he? And and I think that's the way he does it. And maybe longer term contracts have been put under his nose, and he's probably said, "Look, that's not the way I work." He constantly says that, doesn't he? It's not, it's not something that that part of life doesn't consume him. It's the football side, and I think he feels that he's handsomely rewarded, and if he's happy, he's happy. But like you, the whole contract thing, yep, I want the other people to deal with it, and and just say to him, in terms of security, fine. If it doesn't happen, so be it. But it doesn't worry me that he's just going to up sticks and leave. I just think he is a man of integrity, he's a man of honesty, and I don't think he would tell lies. Let's be honest.
I've never thought when he says that's not the way that he works that he ever meant he only wants like a 1 year rolling contract, because he had 3 year deals before.
No, I know.
Stuff. I just took it to mean that, like you said there, it's not the forefront of his mind to think, right, where's my next contract, where's my next bonus, all that kind of stuff, that he is more about the football. And I think that shines through in the things that he talks about, because when he's talking about, put it this way, when he's talking about football, you can see you can see it in him, compared to when he's asked about other things like reports and speculation and contracts and all that kind of thing. You can hear the way that he answers it, that the football is his primary focus. And I think that's a good thing. There's another aspect to this, and I had a conversation with a pal of mine last week, I think, and he suggested this, or he posited this. And Ange Postecoglou referenced the likes of his predecessors like Brendan Rodgers, Neil Lennon, the other day Gordon Strachan. Now, Brendan Rodgers is probably the one that, I mean, you yourself referenced his departure there. But my pals kind of, when we were debating it, he suggested, is there anything in maybe Ange looking back and thinking, well, when Brendan Rodgers signed his long-term deal, that's when some of the power went out of his went out of him and it onto the board, and the board went a wee bit more austerity focused in a way. And is there something in that in terms of Ange Postecoglou might not want to hand that almost that power that he's got by being on a 1 year rolling contract over?
I think there's quite a lot in that. I really do think that these are things that don't bother him. And when it comes to getting round the table, it's probably a necessary evil for him, because he's just like, aye, whatever, because he's still gainfully employed, and he always sort of sees himself, I'm here for as long as they want me, type thing, doesn't he? Without putting any kind of number of years on it, and then couches that with saying, but I know I have to be successful. I just think that he genuinely isn't too perturbed about that. As long as he's got total control over the football side of it, then so be it. Yeah. And there might be merit in that, Sean, about signing a deal that then says, austerity measures, but I don't think anybody at the club has.
Don't get me wrong, Lee.
Indicated that or intimated that to
I don't think it would, though, because I don't think that they know what the response would be if that word was used. But I think, to be fair to my pal, when he mentioned that, initially I went, nah. But then the more I thought about it, although it almost works both ways, it's like a subcontractor, right? It's like a subcontractor where a 1 year rolling contract, you can essentially be told, right, that's you. And likewise, you can say, right, that's me. Whereas the long-term kind of full-time permanent role, if you want to put it that way, keep likening it to the workplace, means that there's security from your point of view, but also that if things don't work out, then maybe if someone wants to poach you, you've got to pay, all that kind of stuff like happened with Rodgers. But because it's football, on the flip side, especially when it comes to the transfer market, if Ange Postecoglou is as beloved as he is just now and is continuing to be successful, but he's also liable to walk away if he feels like he's not getting backed, he can do that on a 1 year rolling contract. But if he's tied into 5 years, then perhaps some of his bargaining power as a personality within the club might be diminished, actually, even though he's got that security. So I wanted to put that to you, if maybe there is a point in that as the last few transfer windows have gone, the 1 year rolling contract might have been an influence in that, because they know how popular Ange Postecoglou is. They know that everybody's all in on him. So, I just thought if when my pal said that, I actually came around to thinking, well, maybe there is something in that. Maybe because when Brendan Rodgers did sign that deal, it did kind of change. He did have actually less power, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, but I think when Brendan Rodgers signed that, then I think he was made aware that guys like Schwed had come in, and I think he gave that interview, didn't he? We didn't even know that Schwed
was a famous interview, aye.
Came to
the another winger.
Yeah, and so I think if stuff like that happens, then the writing's on the wall anyway for any manager, isn't it?
The thing is, to be fair, but from what I can gauge of Ange's character, and this happens with the Australia role as well. I mean, you qualify for the World Cup, and to walk away in a point of principle takes a lot of cojones, if you want to put it that way. So whether he was in a long-term deal or not, I think if things started taking that turn, I think he would just rip it up and just forego any compensation anyway, because it just wouldn't be fair. Which is a similar kind of gauge of character I get when I was talking about the Asia Cup next year, when Celtic would be well within their rights to ask for a postponement if all these players are away at the Asia Cup. And part of me just thinks he would go, well, no, because I've got X, Y, and Z that haven't been getting much game time. It's a chance for them to come in and show it. Like, I think it's the same type of character.
I also think he's mindful of the way Brendan Rodgers left the football club. I just think he just wouldn't want that for himself. I really do. You look at the buy-in that he's had, not only from the players but the supporters. There is an absolute love in now with Ange Postecoglou. He told him himself for those. He's not oblivious to anything, is he? He knows how they feel about him. He's in a wonderful position, and that's quite a. I've said this before, and I use this word. I think that's quite a powerful drug. In terms
Beach
of
Boys, sorry, on you go, finish it.
No,
I was just going to say, Beach Boys saying he's keeping the board on their toes with a rolling contract, is what I'm saying. The board would be crazy to upset him these days. It keeps everyone focused.
Yeah, and I just think Celtic ticks a lot of his boxes in terms of what he wants from his football management career. He's with a club whose supporter is fanatical and is passionate about their team as he is, and they're as ambitious as he is, because everybody who's a Celtic supporter wants to see Celtic back at that top table, not just in the Champions League, but winning games, competing. And this is a man who's saying, stick with me and I'll try and take you there. I mean, why wouldn't you jump on board with that? And he seems to love everything about his new surroundings and just loves the fact that he loves the people that he's working with. He loves the players. Even Jota, who said there's exciting times ahead. So he's clearly said to the players, you might get more money elsewhere, but stick around. It's worth sticking around for. Now, and I'm not saying that all of those players will stick around. Giakoumakis has left, Juranovic has left, but when you hear players talking like that too, I've said before, that's not them talking, that's the manager talking, isn't it? It's exciting times ahead for Celtic. Nobody knows what lies ahead for Celtic, but when players are talking about they're excited, then why are they excited? They're excited to be working with this man because he's clearly got ambitions and they're high. And I spoke before, it's clearly Europe. And I just think that that's one, if not the greatest challenge in football right now, turning Celtic into a European force again, not just for 1 year, but over a period of time. And I think Ange feels confident in his ability to do that. Hence, you might be surprised the number of years I'm here.
Brown Warrior comes in saying neither holds the aces with a rolling contract. Stratton's laptop, Europe will be a big itch for Ange now. Philip Alloway saying Ange is a realist. He knows he has job security as long as he performs.
And he's confident in his own ability to perform.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Speaking of confidence in your own ability to perform, Tony, Stuart Ross has put an interesting article on the website this morning. He submitted one breaking down just how influential Reo Hatate was against Rangers at Hampden. Not only his involvement in the 2 goals, but other periods of the game as well. The main thrust of it, I suppose, messes with the eye test in that the Rangers midfield just couldn't cope with Celtic's trio. But in particular, Reo Hatate seemed to pose them a particularly difficult problem that they couldn't quite get their hands on.
Well, it was evident when Hatate and Loy left the field, wasn't it? Celtic kind of lost their way a wee bit in midfield. We kind of spoke about that, didn't we? But I watched the game back last night because it was replayed on Viaplay or the free channel. And having watched it, when you know the outcome, I didn't get that sense of Rangers Cup coming roaring back into it that I did watching it again, that I did when I was actually there. Because I looked at you at one point and I went, Celtic are second best and have been for the last 20 odd minutes. And I watched it again last night and actually thought, well, no, they weren't really. They fell out it for a spell of it. I think Callum McGregor said 10 to 12 minutes. I'll give him that roughly. And then came straight back into it and could have won more conventionally by the end. So, Stuart Ross's article is worth reading. But it just shows you how you're kind of, the way you're watching it can be skewed, can't it?
I mean, especially when you're there, it's the same. I liken it to a boxing match sometimes. You're occasionally swayed by the response of the crowd to things, when it's not necessarily the reality of what's happening on the park. Sometimes, same as when you're at a boxing. I don't know if you've ever been to a boxing fight. When you're at a boxing fight, especially a bigger one, the reason a lot of times home fighters sometimes get the nod for a controversial decision, I think, is the influence of a crowd. Because sometimes, even if they're throwing a combination, only one of 5 punches hits, it's as if all 5 have hit sometimes. When you hear the crowd's response to it, they start getting up, you start feeling it in the atmosphere, in the air and things. But the referee, the referee's job as well, but the scorers, the judge's job is to kind of see what's actually there and what's actually happening. We, as much as anybody, can be taken in by what's happening around about us, but obviously we try and look at what's actually happening on the pitch. But that's why it's good in the aftermath of these things to have things like the data roundup, to have things like Stuart breaking down an individual performance like that, and even to have the likes of your own reaction piece, which when you've travelled home and you've had the kind of cold light of day to think about it, is obviously more considered than it would be if you were writing it while the game was going on and things like that. So they like to try and cover all bases, but it does influence it. It does influence it when you hear.
And as I say, so my addendum to that is that Rangers came into it, but I don't think they had total control at any stage for any great length of time, unlike Celtic, who were in control in the first half and for very much large parts of the second half, and then finished the stronger. Somebody coming in, I think it was Les D, I think, coming in there. Les D16. Watched it again, 2-2. Never felt any point, even on the day the result was doubt. We were in control, even when they had the like Friday. Yeah. And I think maybe that's what I thought, they had a flurry, and because I heard people and I was reading things saying, it could have gone to extra time, and I was like, I don't think so. That was in my head. I didn't really think so. And then I watched it again last night to think, was it close to going to extra time? Nowhere near close to going to extra time.
No.
It's a colour. As my dad would say, Rangers are a colour ooze and as. I think Celtic had more than ooze and as by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, we said yesterday they could have scored a couple near the end, but even beyond that, and I said this yesterday as well, the 2 goals that Celtic scored stood in stark contrast, and I know they all count the same. There was 3 goals that hit the back of the net, that's what matters, but the 2 goals that Celtic scored were very Celtic goals. The passing, the moving, the amount of players that were involved in it, where the shot was eventually taken from close central areas, that's the ideal. So for them to have done that twice in a cup final will have pleased Ange Postecoglou no end.
Well,
I contrast that with Rangers' goal, which was quite scrappy and their only shot on target. So 2-1, as I said yesterday, it says it was a close game in the scoreline, but the reality to me, being there and looking at the data after it, was that Celtic were the better team for all apart from about 12 to 15 minutes.
And if you saw Andy's reaction to the second goal, he was delighted with that goal. A really good football goal. Once Starfelt intercepts that pass, it's wonderful exchange of passes involving Moy and Hatate and then Kyogo to finish it off. It's a cracking goal, but they cut to Ange and he was absolutely delighted. He was, he was beaming ear to ear because that's a Celtic goal. That's his. I hate this phrase, Ange ball goal, but it was a kind of Ange ball goal, right? If you want to use that phrase, but I'm not a lover of it. But it was because they picked it up. Starfelt read that pass from Tavernier to Kent really quickly, shunted it on to footballers, but no bit of skills. It was a neat pass that he played in. And then from there, it's bang, bang, bang. And 3 passes or 4 passes later, it's in the net. And that's exactly the way he wants his players to play, that high press, high tempo, but quick and clinical when that comes across. And you're right. And I listed all the chances yesterday. I think Celtic had about 8 efforts, wasn't it? I think maybe 9. And so the result wasn't in any doubt. There's just when people say to you, or when you're there, you can think that it is skewed a wee bit. But nah. I think Celtic were worthy winners, and if it finishes 3 or 4-1, you're not going to complain, are you?
No. But it did finish 2-1, Tony, which meant that taking up the mantle from Kevin's thing last week.
Yes,
I went back and counted them all up, and that was, depends how you count it. And I've written in, well, if you've got the newsletter subscription, which is free. You'll have got this last night, but it's up on the website today, and I've put the link into it there. In major cup finals, that's Celtic now at 200 goals, which obviously no Scottish team has done. I can't quite find the records for a lot of the likes of Al Ackley, Nacional, historically really successful clubs, to find all the runners-up ones as well, where they were in finals. So I don't know if any of them have done it, but certainly no Scottish clubs done it. Rangers managed 182, which is obviously nowhere near Celtic's 200, but I've kind of dived into that a wee bit. Broke it down into the constituent competitions, addressed any caveats, which there are a couple, because there's for instance, the 1909 Scottish Cup final, Tony.
Withheld.
It was Celtic v Rangers, went to a replay, they drew both games, and then the trophy was withheld from either team because of crowd trouble. Now,
Two each and then 2 each.
And 1 each, aye. I've counted those goals because although the trophy was withheld, the games haven't been expunged from the record as far as I could see, so the goals still count towards the totals. If you count, and I know Kevin counts this, I don't know if you can count it the Intercontinental Cup in 1967 because is it a cup? I know it's cup in the title, but is it a cup in the traditional sense? Is it a major cup when you were invited and there was only 2 associations? It was a forerunner of the World Club Cup. So if you don't count that, it's exactly 200. If you do count it, it's 202, and they were already at 200, which is less sexy than having just reached the 200. But I broke it all down there anyway in a wee newsletter. It's on the website, so have a wee read of that.
I agree with 420 somewhere. Sean's like overdrive once again. Boiler of a stat. He does indeed. But no, it's on the newsletter. You can have a read at that, guys. I also did the piece on Kyogo yesterday. You can have a read at that as well. That's been up on the site since yesterday. They can look at the League Cup final. King of the
League Cup, yep.
King of the League Cup, yep. And the man that Callum McGregor called a superstar, which I thought might have put Jota's nose out of joint, but Jota seems to be all right. He's doing all right. But yeah, I mean, it's. I think the Celtic supporters are just in a happy mood, Sean. There was so much riding on Sunday, and I think now this will serve them well for the remainder of the season and the remainder of the games as they tick down to hopefully a second consecutive league championship. And dare we mention the T word, the treble. Long way to go before any of that's sorted out. But one thing's for certain, they'll be back at it today because the manager told them they'll enjoy the celebrations of the cup final. I think they did the day off yesterday, and then he's going to ask them to go again. So from today they'll be asked to go again. They, as you said, those 3 words, they never stop. So I like that attitude, Sean, that the guys will be back at training in whatever shape, burning off those hangovers today.
Yep. Plenty of comments to that effect, to be honest with you. I'm not going to put them all up. Sorry, did I froze?
You froze your eye, you froze, sorry, what did you say?
No, I just said there's plenty of comments to that effect, but I'm not going to throw them all up.
Just going to say, call it the Kyogo Cup. Well, we spoke about that yesterday, didn't we? That Aidan said he wanted them to be called the Kyogo Finals, didn't he? That was his kind of reference point. Scott McGill, we are all as rough as toast. There you go. And then Michael Duffin, love what articles as you remember things that sometimes you forget. That's very kind. Thanks very much. We appreciate that. But yeah, I think Beach Boys coming in. Grey strip for St Mirren. Can't wait to win on it. Belter of a strip. Would you go with the grey again, Sean, at St Mirren?
Just to exercise that demon, I think. Aye, mate, why not?
Well, would you exercise that ghost, would you? And Curtis coming in and saying, and shouting Kyogo at full time for a cuddle. What a couple. I did see that. He didn't lift him into the air like his son, as he did last year, but he did kiss him in the head, didn't he? As he said something to him, and he kind of let him go and join his rest of his teammates. I did notice that clip, to be fair. I thought it was excellent. And Philip Allery comes in with a fair point. What are the rules around fireworks inside the stadium? Looked a bit of a worry. Phil, I don't think there was any rules in the stadium because there was some amount of pyrotechnics, shall we say, Shawnee.
Yep, Scott McGill, well worth a subscription. Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate that.
That's very kind. Appreciate that. And David Ferguson, hallelujah, I'll get to wear my grey shirt again. And Brown Warrior coming in saying, watching Aaron Moyes soaking up You'll Never Walk Alone behind Joe Hart during his interview was special. Yeah, I think the celebrations were great, and Joe Hart particularly went a bit radio rental, as they would say.
Yeah, I don't know. Was it maybe in replicating his opposite numbers moment of frustration during the game, potentially?
But when he booted the ball into the Celtic supporters,
I mean,
with
not to focus too much on that, but he should have been booked for that, surely. But,
do you think so?
Aye, yeah. McGregor. Aye.
Neil Reid says Joe Hart's post-match interview was great. It was actually very good because he just pointed, didn't he, and said, "Look at that, listen to that, it's special." And Plunge McNugget come in and saying, "Wear the hoops on Sunday." But there you go. And John McGlinchey is saying here, when Ange finally retires, I think he will look back at his time with Celtic as his finest and most special job in management, a club like no other.
They all do, Tony, is what I would say. They all do.
Or they all should do, let's put it that way. It works out like that for some, but maybe not so much others. But there you go. Well, Sean, that's been 40 minutes of still basking in the glory of the other mob winning the first trophy of the season and being the only ones that can win a domestic treble. But as somebody said to me, one game at a time. You know my thoughts on that. We do take it one game at a time. Here's Jamie coming in. Sean, he agrees with you. That was a booking 100%. There you go. Yeah, well, he got away with it, didn't he? But he still ended up on the losing side, I guess. Revenge a dish best served cold. Scott McGill's got a lot to say for himself today, Sean. Great show, lads. Feel great to be there. That's very kind, Scott. Appreciate it. But as we say every day, I'll just direct you to the ticker tape running along the bottom. You can help us all out subscribing to the Celtic Way and support top quality journalism covering the club you love, and it'll cost you £2 for 2 months of unlimited access to everything that we do on the website. Sean's flicked up a few articles today. There's something there for everybody. You'll enjoy it, especially Stuart Ross's Hattati Masterclass, Sean, we call it that. For the click of a button.
I think it is, yeah. I think it fits the mould of a masterclass, Tony. Do you know?
Yes, indeed. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We appreciate it. We appreciate you coming in the comments and adding your own thoughts. We like to bounce off them, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you for your subscription. We genuinely appreciate it, and thanks for tuning in and watching, because as I say, we love the interaction. We like a good laugh as well. And we're all smiling, we're all happy bunnies because we won the first trophy of the season. Here's hoping, as Alistair Johnson says, it's the first of many. And we also say thank you to SENECA. The Celtic Way morning briefing is now sponsored by SENECA Medical Group. And SENECA are the #1 hair transplant company in Europe, and they offer innovative hair restoration treatments. And you can find out more about SENECA via the links in the description of this video. Hope you've enjoyed today. Tomorrow might be the hard one, Shawnee, the midweek kind of no man's land limbo. What do we talk about? But we never run out of things to talk about. We talk about Celtic, don't we? And if not, we'll just get Sean to make up some stat and we'll just talk about that for half an hour. Isn't that right, fella?
That's it.
or I'll write some rubbish and we'll talk about that. That's the way it works. Guys, thank you very much. As I say, have a terrific Tuesday. Hopefully see you for a wonderful Wednesday. Take care.
Cheers, Tony. Cheers, guys.